Yo guys, it's Democracy in December, the engineering edition. Today in the Times-Union newspaper, I saw a really interesting article about how there is a policy for state-run construction projects that 30% of the contractors used should be businesses that are owned by women, minorities, or people of diversity. And the article was about how frequently when builders try to source those, they try to work with companies that have that ownership structure, they can't find enough people to work with who are willing to come to the area where the work is being done. And so basically the governor's office says, okay, well, you can have a waiver as long as you provide documentation that shows that you tried to find people who could do the work. And so last year they provided over 1,000 waivers, but not everyone who asks for a waiver gets it. It's like 80% or so. So you can see there's a lot of work being done to continue to try to support this policy, even though it's clear that at this point the workers are not there to meet this quota, as it were. So this number has changed in the last 10 years from 5% to 10%, then it was 20, and now it's 30. And so I think one of the reasons why the governor's office keeps it at 30 is so that businesses that are maybe located in New York City, owned by minority business owners or women, they know that if they wanted to move upstate, that they would probably have a steady stream of business to do there. And so that way people of diversity can start to migrate throughout the state, because Governor Cuomo is a smart politician and he knows that if there are more Democratic voters in the further reaches of the state, that'll be good for him. So a really interesting part of the article was that one of the Sunni groups that interacts with this policy a lot said that they thought the number should be 26%. And it's possible that they're correct, like a lot of this paperwork, with all the paperwork that these firms are doing to try to communicate with these businesses and then communicate with the governor's office, that's probably like hundreds of thousands of dollars that is being spent, which kind of goes back to the taxpayers and the state's budget and the state's finances. So it's possible that with a slightly lower bar to jump over, the burden of paperwork will be less, and there will be a lot of other consequences to that too. So the question is, like, moving people around the state in this way, it's kind of similar to what states do when they make laws about marriage equality. Like if a state tries to take an aggressive stance against marriage for gay people, and they know that the law isn't going to get through the Supreme Court, but they can get people to move out of their state by kind of triggering a boycott. They can get young, funky people to leave the state so that the voters who are left over are less young. And, a lot of policies wind up having this demographic engineering effect on the people who live in the state. Some policies are just better for some residents than others, and it's normal for people to move to a place where there are benefits to them living there. But when this is done directly to try to change the balance, 51-49, it might be done in a way that doesn't really lead to the overall health of the state. And so when we have the two-party seesaw, that kind of leads this notion of demographic engineering to weigh very heavily on the policies that the state is already trying to implement. So the other interesting thing is that what if somebody came up against Governor Cuomo and said, I want to change this policy a little bit? It's like, well, what if Governor Cuomo doesn't get reelected? What's going to be the change? That number from 30 is probably going to go to 0. But what if the right number actually is 26? How can we have a healthy competition between governors who are not going to be completely undoing each other's work, but actually just modifying it. And that uncertainty of whether that number is going to go from 30 to 0 makes it hard for those business owners to move upstate, because the level of uncertainty in our political seesaw is as high as it is. I'm going to give you my answer to this tomorrow, which is Monday. And thank you very much for coming to my channel. Please let me know what you think of all the videos, and I will check back with you again tomorrow.